think everybody's here. So good afternoon and welcome everyone to our April webinar. It's the fourth in our series so far. My name is Marion Murphy. I'm a member of the EUROGI Women in Geospatial Group and Managing Director at Marion Technology. And I will be standing in for Jenny Hannafin as your host today because Jenny can't make it, unfortunately. So please note that this webinar is being recorded and it will be available to view on our YouTube channel within a week or so. I will add the link to our YouTube channel and our LinkedIn page to the chat as we go along. I would like to remind everybody that you should be on mute for the duration of the presentations and to please use the chat facility to add any questions that you may have for our presenters, and we will come to those at the end of each presentation. So that's enough from me. I would like to welcome our presenters to Mohana and Edell, and thank you both for taking the time to participate in our webinar series today. Look forward to hearing about your projects, and for our audience, Mohana and Edell will introduce themselves at the start of the presentation. So I think really it's just a case of let's get started. Perfect.
Lovely. Now, if you can let me know when you see that.
We see it there, yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be here to speak in this Women in Geospatial webinar series. As I had mentioned previously to Marion, my route to smart technologies and geospatial has been quite a circuitous route. So just to give you a little overview of my presentation today, I'm just going to introduce myself and I suppose the road that I took to get here, and then talk briefly about just the Internet of Things and what it is. I didn't have a huge amount of familiarity about it up until about 2 years ago. And then I'm going to talk about two projects that I have been involved with in Dublin City Council. So one is the Smart Loading Bay project and one is the Smart Accessibility Parking project. And then hopefully at the end we'll have some time for questions. So a little bit about me. So I graduated from DIT Bolton Street as an architectural technologist in 2002. And I've spent 20 years in the private sector working on a range of architectural projects such as residential, multi-use residential, commercial and healthcare. But following a period of great boom in the noughties, we were struck by the post-Celtic Tiger recession. And again, many professionals at this time were unfortunately made redundant, and I was one of those. So although I was fortunate enough to find work after a couple of weeks, it was a bit of a wake-up call because both my husband and I are in the private sector in the built environment. And so I started to look for more stability, and Dublin City Council really was a natural choice for me. My team are sick of me mentioning this, but I am from Dublin. My parents are from Dublin and my grandparents are from Dublin on both sides. So why not be part of the structure that shapes the city? So I joined DCC in 2021. And at the time, I had assumed I would be placed in the City Architects division, given my background. But actually, I was placed within the Environment and Transportation department in the Transportation Planning division under Edell Kelly, the Senior Transport Officer. So at the time, it was to assist with the mapping of the development plan map. So at the time, we were working on the 2022-2028 development plan. And so I was assisting with that. But while I was working on the development plan, I started a master's in sustainable mobility and transportation in TU Dublin. And I graduated this February. But during these early months, I suppose I was very fortunate to work alongside another team in the council, which is the Smart Dublin team. So we were involved in a project which was a Horizon 2020 EU-funded Pathfinder project, and it was called Senator. And so Senator is a smart network operator platform which enables shared, integrated and more sustainable urban freight logistics. So what does that mean? Well, fundamentally, It's a control tower that manages infrastructure capacity. So if you think about your warehousing, parking, loading, and then your available fleet. And so your trucks, your vans, your bikes, etc. And then it creates a framework of collaboration. So to find the optimized solution for moving the freight around the city. So this was my first introduction to the role of smart technologies in transportation planning, and it actually informed my dissertation, which was entitled Kick Chaos from the Curb: Can Digital Curbside Management Improve Sustainability in Cities by Eliminating Disorder from the Curbside? And so that brings me on to the subject of my presentation, which is the Internet of Things and its role in the movement of people and goods. So firstly, the Internet of Things. So this refers to a network of physical devices, vehicles, appliances, and other physical objects. So many objects that we'd be very familiar with on a day-to-day basis. And they're embedded with sensors and software and network connectivity. And this allows them to collect and share data. So this is without human interaction. And the benefits of the Internet of Things are the streamlining of processes to ensure efficiencies, enhanced functionality of processes, and to facilitate an improvement in the quality of life through more sustainable processes. So rapid advancements and implementation of IoT-based technologies has facilitated many opportunities in the development of emerging solutions in different aspects. So you can see here, you have smart buildings, smart grids, environmental protection, circular economy, the healthcare. But I suppose the one we're focusing on is the smart transportation and smart infrastructure. So again, our cities are becoming more congested, and IoT will be an essential tool in encouraging this behavioural change to sustainable modes. So again, providing people with real-time, reliable data to allow them to select more efficient green options when they choose to travel. And then in turn, the data that's generated can be used by city officials and transport professionals to better inform their transport models. So this brings me on to the two pilots in Dublin City Council that is utilising IoT to improve efficiencies. The first one is the Smart Loading Bay project. So again, with the concentration of populations in cities and a continued shift in trends towards e-commerce and on-demand services, we all are, you know, susceptible to next day deliveries and the likes. But our cities are becoming increasingly burdened by these existing and emerging demands. So much so that in 2022, Dublin was ranked as the 12th most congested city in the world. So congestion, we're all aware that it generates financial, environmental and social burdens. And so the governance models have to aim to improve efficiencies to minimise the impacts of this. So using IoT-enabled sensors and GP trackers, companies can track, monitor their assets in real time. So this facilitates an enhanced visibility through their network and their supply chain. And with the travel, you can have route optimizations, which can lead to reduced fuel consumption and faster delivery times. So in 2018, Dublin City Council launched the Last Mile Delivery Challenge. And this was a project in partnership with Belfast City Council, and it was to look to improve efficiencies and effectiveness of urban deliveries. So a number of pilot projects were realised as part of the challenge. One was consolidation hubs, which were outside the city core, that would link with last mile delivery solutions. And this would limit the amount of larger delivery vehicles coming into the city every day. Also, the use of new technologies to digitise loading bays. So the ambition was to dynamically manage the curbside using, you can see in some of the images there, a virtual loading bay system. So for delivery companies, improved efficiencies save time and costs, increasing their revenue. And then for local authorities, more efficient traffic management reduces congestion, minimises illegal parking and eases the vehicle idling, which obviously causes congestion. So unfortunately, the pilot was paused due to COVID, but at the beginning of 2024, as part of the Senator project that I previously mentioned, the loading bay sensor trial was launched. So in partnership with OnPost and UTS Technologies, the Smart Loading Bay pilot uses sensors to show the real-time availability of the loading bays. You can see there are 3 of them there on the South Quays in Dublin. So these sensors can give information to enforcement officers if vehicles are overstaying their welcome or their allotted time. What I like, as part of the Senator project, we worked with a company in the UK called Appiway, and they are a curbside management platform provider in the UK, and they describe the lack of destination data for motorists as the fundamental reason 40 million vehicles run around like headless chickens at an enormous cost, economic and environmental, and that the use of sensors and granular destination information will turn these headless chickens into fully optimized homing pigeons. Now, moving on to the movement of people, so the Smart Accessibility Parking project. So, as previously mentioned, our cities play a progressively important role in tackling climate change. Urbanisation can contribute to sustainable growth when managed well, but with the speed and scale of urbanisation, it brings challenges. So, such as meeting the accelerated transport demands of its citizens. So the rise in spatial information has brought about a significant shift in the way we move around our cities. With the continued shift towards more digitally enabled transport modes, so car shares, shared scooters, bikes, cities must ensure that all citizens have their transport needs met in a safe, equitable, efficient and sustainable way. So this brings us on to our Smart Accessibility Parking project. So in the census in Ireland in 2022, 22% of the population live with a disability. And as such, sufficient provision of accessible parking is essential. So noting the importance of equity when ensuring all citizens' transport needs are met, the Smart Accessibility Parking project was born from a conversation between Councillor Alison Gilliland, who's the former Lord Mayor of Dublin, and she was speaking to one of her constituents, and it was kind of post-COVID, and she had expressed concern about finding accessible parking spaces in town when it's busy, because obviously during COVID we had a number of COVID mobility interventions, and it widened footpaths, it provided build-outs, it created traffic-free streets, it provided new cycle lanes, but as a result, some of the parking was relocated to adjoining streets. So in partnership with Smart Dublin and DCC, the Smart Accessible Parking Bay project seeks to enhance convenience and promote inclusivity by ensuring that accessible parking is readily available when most needed. So the drivers can not also tell you if the bay is available. So this using a combination of highly developed sensors and user-centric mobile data app, which you can see on the right-hand side of the screen. And again, it eliminates the stress and uncertainty often associated with finding accessible parking at peak periods in the city. So the Smart Accessibility Parking project has 53 sensors that have been installed. So it's a pilot project, a citywide pilot project, and it's in partnership with UTS Parking and Transportation. So for city officials and transportation professionals, again, the data is essential. So the data the data that's produced from this trial can be analysed to determine the effectiveness and the viability of designated spaces. And so in turn, informing future transport models and any other public realm interventions. This is a screenshot here of the UTS dashboard, noting both sets of sensors operating as part of the 2 DCC pilots. And then just on a final note, I just wanted to mention a number of challenges that are associated with the Internet of Things implementation. So first thing, rapid development. It can cause vast consumption of raw materials to make these electronic devices. Affordability of devices can result in high production volumes. And so this can lead to unwanted utilisation. And so there has to be improved recycling rates and improved e-waste management to deal with this. IOT technologies can also impact working labour by replacing their functions, so this can result in possible social concerns. Also, when adopting any new system, employees need to be trained, new technologies and processes. And an example would be as part of the Senator project, while we're doing a theoretical trial at the moment, the delivery companies have to scan the packages twice. So once by their own company scanner and once by the Senator scanner, just as part of the trial. But again, this is adding an extra step. So if they're delivering 100 parcels a day, it's now scanning it 200 times. And so it's just the added work. So it can be met with some resistance. And then I suppose the most notable one is the data security and privacy concern. So obviously IoT generates and transmits vast amounts of data, and it may be a target for cyber attacks and data breaches. So again, operators must have a robust security measures in place. So that is me, and I hope it was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I hope you found it interesting, and I'll be obviously available for any questions at the end. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you very much, Edell. I think that was fabulous. I think great. It's great to know so much work is being done, and obviously, use of technology and the geospatial part of it. It's just in general, it's I'm a headless chicken that you spoke about there at the best of times,
Yeah.
but in particular when I'm trying to drive through town, like mostly would choose public transport, but if they're, on some occasions. So I think to understand that there's so much work being done by Dublin City Council and is really very, very, very positive. And also, I think most people would say really, really, that's fantastic. When are we getting the app? When can we
Yes.
find it? When
Well,
can we have it?
hopefully,
And
yeah, hopefully by the end of this year. So it's a
wow,
4-year
yeah,
project. So
wow,
hopefully by
fantastic.
the end of 2024. So
Yeah. Well, and as you say, even the number of considerations. I mean, I think most of us will understand between security and environmental and otherwise. But I think it's that they're really insightful projects. So we're delighted that you shared them with us today, and it's great to know, as I said, that the councils are really taking all this on board and using the technology and just what the geospatial sector can do or information can do to help with any of the challenges. So have you worked with any of the other city councils, or do you know if there's plans to maybe share pilots, or maybe one city council
yeah.
may work on one bit and
Well, the way Smart Dublin works, which is the branch, I suppose, who are leading a lot of the pilot projects, they have Smart Dublin, Smart Balbriggan. I'll definitely forget one, but Smart
yeah,
Dunleary, Smart Smart DCU. So they are really advanced in their technologies. I think they have a digital twin now built of their campus.
yeah,
So there is a kind of an overseeing department who liaises with all of the different smart departments who are based in other councils. So yeah, there is a lot of, so actually the smart sensors started in Dunleary. They were
okay,
the first company to launch, and they're the first department to launch them. So that was, I think they looked at that in 2014, and then have rolled out maps since, and Wicklow as well have sensors in Wicklow town in their loading bays. So UTS, through UTS Parking Technologies, they've worked with a number of different councils, and I suppose even across the water in the UK, the Senator project, we worked with Apiway in the UK and CurbIQ in Canada. And so again, we have some North American experience, we have now some UK experience. So we're all
brilliant.
learning from each other.
Excellent. Well, long may it last. It looks
Yeah.
fascinating. Just there was a question, I think, from Bruce McCormack. There is when does the Senator project end?
So it's a 4-year project, so it'll end in 2024. So it's currently in a theoretical trial stage in Dublin with Unpust and UCD, Smart Dublin
Okay, yeah.
and DCC. And then there's also a trial in Zaragoza in Spain. So there's actually 2
Wow.
living labs. And so in Zaragoza, it's slightly different because they have a business post and a residential private post. And so they can kind of do their physical trial between themselves. So again, there were some difficulties in trying to get other delivery companies to to get involved in the consolidation process for many reasons. That's another day's presentation.
That's another,
but
I would imagine.
For the time being, the theoretical trial has given us a huge amount of information at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you, like, to be fair, it showcases actually the efficiencies even for the delivery companies. I mean, surely they'd have to take that on board anyway, you know, instead of sort of clogging up the highways, as they say. Okay, well, thank you so much, Edell. That was fantastic.